It's Acoustic Alternatives from Grove Studios in Ypsilanti, the home of the podcast since October of 2020. They were very kind and gave me a home to do a podcast after I lost my radio gig. And their reasoning was, we want you to come in and, well, basically bring us money. That wasn't really what happened, but it brought me purpose. It reminded me that when I was doing the radio thing for 15 years in Ann Arbor, I got the pleasure to visit with a lot of folks. And even before that, when I was in Dearborn doing radio, I got to visit with a lot of folks. And one of those is here today at Grove Studios in Ypsilanti, all the way from
Flushing, Michigan.
Flushing, Michigan.
Wow.
Where I once met a plumber's daughter from Flushing, Michigan, and I thought that was the funniest thing.
Ironic.
We were kids then, and it was like, Flushing? No, that's funny. Anyway, that's where you live these days. Although today you took a little time off of work to spend some time with me. Jen Cass is an award-winning solo artist and member of the band The Lucky Nows, who are writing a brand new release, which I don't have in my hands because it's not out yet. But by the time this is here,
By the time I drive home,
it
will
be
be on my porch.
Okay.
There's a delivery notification in my email.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
The album's
Super
called Broken
exciting.
Homes at Hearts of Gold, and I have had the pleasure of hearing it before most of the world. And
Before all the world.
well, your band has heard it first. Your recording engineers
Fair.
have heard it. Your
The
person,
mastering
mastering person, was her name Kim? I forget.
Kim
Yes,
Rosen,
yeah. So yeah, a few people have heard it, but I was able to, with my honor, be the first to debut it on any kind of a radio station, though it was an internet radio station, but it still counts.
It absolutely counts.
Well, Jen's superpower is telling stories about the people in her lives and also bringing bad people to justice. That's another superpower. I would like, before we get into conversation, to hear one of the songs. I don't really know what 4 or 3 songs you decided to do because we didn't actually discuss. Do you want to do
We
3 or
didn't.
4?
I wanted to surprise you.
Oh, boo. Okay, I'm surprised.
No, I thought I would start with the song that gives us the title of the CD.
I
So
love this song. Do you want to tell the story or leave it be?
Can
you tell the story?
I don't think I can tell the story and sing the song. I get too emotional when I tell the story.
I will just tell people that just pay attention and you'll
yeah.
figure the story out.
It's hard to miss if you're actually following the lyrics, but it's called Broken Homes and Hearts of Gold. When I knew you were coming, I never could sleep. If I tried, you would just kick the hell out of me. So I'd sit in your room, painting purples and blues, singing songs to my belly and waiting for you with a love so big it could fill the world. And I picked out names for a boy or girl, didn't need to know. You came 2 days early, I wasn't surprised. You were 9 pounds of energy ready to fly. And I gave you the name of my most trusted friend, and I hope that'd be armor against every end. In a world so big, you fit in my hands, and I held you close, tried to understand, and watched you grow. Oh, Bob the Builder and Thomas the Train. Oh, big umbrella, small boots in the pouring rain. You spent your days in a world you created with pirates and dragons and princesses waiting for knights or a spaceship to take them away. And you lost yourself in every role that you played, and the damn souls became their own heroes. And the bad guys sometimes had broken homes and hearts of gold. People will tell you to be who you are, just as long as you don't try to take it too far. They'll cut off your beautiful, colorful wings. In their black and white world, you're a dangerous thing. Can't keep you safe and still let you go. I can't make them see what I see, so they'll never know you at all. But I know your heart and your soul stay the same. When you're using new pronouns to change your name. If there is a God and she's still hearing prayers, there's some magical wish you can speak in the air. I'll whisper these words to whomever may hear, that you're happy, unharmed, that you never know fear. In a world so big, full of joy and pain, that you get back up, always know your name. I love you so.
Jen Cass of the Lucky Nows is my guest on Acoustic Alternatives from Grove Studios. The title track from the second Lucky Nows album, Broken Homes and Hearts of Gold, due out in June of 2024. Probable first appearance of the CD will be at the Nor'easter Festival or the benefit the day before, probably.
Probably the benefit the day before, yeah, Thursday night.
That is in Saginaw? Wait.
No, that one is up in Commons, Michigan.
Commons, Michigan, with I-Ns.
Commons with an I-N-S.
Where is that particular gig located?
That's at Skyline Event Center.
Okay, so people
and it's a split bill with a fantastic folk band called the Rough and Tumble, who are very good friends.
They've been guests.
Yes.
They were guests when we were down the hall.
Yeah.
Before we moved into this room and for the podcast studio.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. I know that is a tough song. It's it's not my story and I get choked up. But it's the story of a lot of parents these days. In fact, I know my sister-in-law, when I'm able to properly send her, please listen to this at your leisure when you're allowed to cry, because you're going to, because she understands your story with two kids having the same situation in her family. So this is a story you probably wouldn't have released 10 years ago. But today.
Correct. Yeah. I don't know that I would have felt comfortable sharing it. And I think what was really important to me is that it was okay with my child.
Yeah. Well, that's important.
And it was okay with him. So
yeah. Well, I mean, you're going to help people with the song. You're going to help people understand that they're not alone. To me, that's what music does best. It reminds me that somebody's been through what I've been through.
It is. It becomes sort of a big group therapy session at times, right? And it's always been important to me that my songs are true. They start from a kernel of truth. Most of them are entirely true, start to finish. And it's how I've always written, from that place of truth and honesty. And I think if you're connected to yourself in that way, then the stories you tell will connect with other people too.
I always have connected with your songs, even though I know I'm not one of the characters, but I feel your characters.
Not yet.
I will give you fodder later.
There's so much time.
I'll give you fodder later if you want to write a song with my life in it. All right, so let's back way up. Before you started doing this, you grew up in the Detroit area, is that correct?
I did, yeah. Okay, I grew up in and around Detroit, Livonia, Dearborn, bunch of places down there.
That's a good place to be. It's not far from where I grew up in Warren. So the area that you grew up in, just like me, has a rich musical community too. I mean, we've always been around Motown and all the Seeger and whatever. There's a whole bunch of things that have come out of here. But was your family musical or just you?
No, my dad is actually still a guitar player in a couple of different bands. He plays for contra dances. He plays in a big Irish band. And he has always been a guitar player. So he would pull out the guitar and he would sing songs for us. And there's, little audio tapes from way back when with our little tiny voices singing along with Dad, playing, Gordon Lightfoot songs or whatever struck his fancy that day.
Sure.
Yeah. And I really wanted to learn how to play guitar, and my mom was insistent that we all had to learn piano, and that was what we had to do. So I did my 5 years of piano, never clicked at all. I can play piano, but it just never.
There's one behind you.
Never clicked for me. So I finally convinced them to let me learn guitar, and the rest just it came so much more naturally for me. And I feel much more connected to the guitar as an instrument, and the things that come through the guitar as a writer are very much it's a collaboration between me and an instrument.
Okay. And you had siblings?
I do. I have one sibling.
One sibling, okay.
My sister, Shannon, and she plays piano.
Oh, okay.
She picked that right up.
I feel like on one of your songs you hinted a brother, but I don't know if it was a fictional brother or not.
Might have been a fictional brother. I don't have a brother.
Okay. Do you want one? I mean, I'm still adoptable.
Is it too late? I don't know.
I think it's too late. Probably too late. What high school did you graduate from?
I went to Roper.
Roper?
So Roper.
You're my
at the
second
time.
Roper graduate, actually.
Really?
Yes.
Who's the other one?
Allison Albrecht.
Okay.
Do you know her at all?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So Roper is a really interesting place with a philosophy that encourages you to engage in things that change the world, whether it be through art or through the work that you do in your day job, or if you combine the two. They really work hard with people to find a path that gives them the opportunity to make a difference in the world and to instigate change. And so Roper students all over the place, they come off a lot like me. They do a lot of things in a lot of different directions to try to make the world better.
So none of your fellow graduates would be surprised at the two things that you do for a living.
No, and then you add to that I'm, a martial arts person.
That's right.
Yeah.
You could kick my ass.
I might.
Why?
But just
I've always been nice to you. I've always been nice to you. Anyway.
No, the rule number one of karate is you never use it except in self-defense.
Well.
So you're good.
You won't need that.
You're good.
Well, you grew up listening pretty much to the same radio stations I did, probably as a kid. What role did radio play in your life?
Radio was huge. I remember my dad getting an old Panasonic cassette player that had, for the first time ever, had a record button, and I would hold the Panasonic little cassette recorder up to the radio, and I would get Casey Kasem's American Top 40 every week.
I scheduled my life around that.
Of course I did, yeah. And I would actually, in addition to recording it, I would write out all the songs, and I would watch the way they were moving, and I would try to decide why they were moving that way and what made a good song. And it was huge. I spent almost all of my life with my head in headphones or up next to a stereo. My parents had the kind of stereo that's furniture.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So we'd put on records, and you'd sit with your back against one of the speakers, and it was a religious experience to get a new record where you had lyrics on the inside, and you'd sit with your back against so you could feel the music going through you, and you would read the lyrics and learn the songs that way.
You painted that picture so well.
Yeah, it was
That's great.
Huge.
I remember that. Yeah. I mean, we did that. You, again, radio is a part of your life in probably the same way I listened to it and observed it, but you turned it into, I want to write songs. What age were you when you said, hey, I want to do that?
Well, it's really interesting. I was kind of a late bloomer to songwriting. I was an early bloomer to poetry.
Ah, okay.
So
me too, I guess.
Yeah.
I wrote poems when my heart was broken.
I wrote a lot of poems. Yeah. And I read a lot, and I lost myself in these worlds that were created by other writers, and I admired people's ability to actually tell a story that I could see and visualize with just words on a piece of paper. I thought it was incredible. So eventually I think I got toward probably my junior year in college, and I was at University of Michigan, and the ARC open mics were also a thing that I went to every single week, but I wasn't playing. I was just there to see what was happening. Yeah. And it was, at the time, it was Carl Cacho and Katie Curtis and David Goldfinger, and there were just some great players. Joe Sarapair was there. Mm-hmm. Just Chris Buhalis. I could go on and on. There were so many people that showed up for that, and I was just in awe of these incredible writers and players. And I went home and decided, next week I'm going to play. And the deal was you had to play 2 songs, and the goal was that they be original. And so I had to write 2 songs in 1 week to be able to do it. And I pulled it off.
2 old poems or 2 brand new things?
Oh, no, they were brand new things. So I wrote Train Song and House of Cards, both of which made it onto my very first debut CD in 1 week. And then I went and played them.
Wow.
And that became a goal for me, that I would go and I would try to play 2 new songs every Wednesday, which for songwriters out there, I'm not really a prolific, write all the time sort of writer. When something strikes me.
I noticed that.
Yeah. You notice the gaps in my recordings.
Kind of, yeah.
Something will strike me and then I'll go on a streak.
Oh, okay.
And at that time, I was writing, 2 songs a week. Now, not all of them made the records, and not all of them were, tremendous material. But it's really important as a songwriter to continue to write, and to dig a little deeper and try a little harder and try to have every song sound a little different. And it was a great exercise. And to do that and stand up in front of people who I really admired and who I still really admire, was absolutely formational. I would not be the writer that I am today without those people. I wouldn't be the player I am today. Tom Paxton, I met Tom Paxton when I was very, very young in my career. And he pulled me aside after my show. I had opened, and he pulled me aside and said, "You're a great writer. You got to be a better guitar player." That was
nice
20
honesty.
Years ago now, but I loved the honesty, and I set about to do it. I was, all right, then I'm going to do that. If that's what I need to do, I'm going to do it. So I really appreciate all the love and support and advice I've gotten from, more seasoned musicians over the years, and I've tried to take it all to heart.
That's great. Well, you were doing that. You're going to law school, which I'm sure took a fair amount of brain power. That's not a easy school to pass through, but you're...
No. And I was doing that at University of Michigan too. So that was, that was a very high pressure situation. But what gave me the ability to finish that was that I also had music on the side. So,
a release of sorts.
Yeah.
Something to
it was something that gave me, what was happening in my heart was still able to get out there. It wasn't all a cerebral exercise every day and Socratic method and stand and deliver. It was, I was still feeling my feelings, and I still had a place to put them. And I think that kept me whole, and it kept me healthy through those years. They were really hard years. But interestingly, that's when I put out my first CD, is in law school.
I have it as 28 years ago. Is that about right?
That's about right. Yeah.
That's pretty good long
scary,
career.
but yeah, that's true.
Well, that was the album called Brave Enough to Say. You were working your day job in the field or just schooling when that album came out?
I was in the middle of law school.
Okay, so you're actually still learning and not actually practicing anything. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, that was a good start. It got people's attention, right? There was some some traction out there.
Yeah.
However, it was your second album, Skies Burning Red, that seemed to get a little bit more attention across the country, even I think in Canada too, right?
Yeah, it actually got radio play all over the world, and I had award nominations, and I was lucky enough with Brave Enough to Say to get the attention of John Jennings. And John Jennings, for those who didn't immediately recognize him, was a longtime friend and producer of Mary Chapin Carpenter, worked with the Indigo Girls, Iris DeMent, just a lot of really good,
It's a nice resume.
Really good resume, absolutely. And he was gracious enough. I asked him if he would listen to my music, and I wanted to do a new CD, and he said, "Sure, send me your first record." And I sent it, and he said, "All right, send me your new songs." And I sent him, and then he said, "All right, let's make a record." And that record, Skies Burning Red, is still, I'm just incredibly proud of the work we did with that record. I think the songs are great. I think everything about the arrangement and the production is fantastic. And I worked with Mary Chapin Carpenter's band, and they all got to be my friends. And it was, I really thought at that point that that's what I was going to break as an artist, and I was going to be moving to Nashville, and I was going to be touring, and I really thought that was going to get me right over the edge. And I did get a lot of really, really good opportunities because of that record.
That was the same year. I was looking at kind of like chronologically what happened around the same time. Dar Williams' breakthrough record, Mortal City, was the same year. Jonathan Brooke was kind of right in between when she was breaking out. Now, had you taken fire, taken fire at the same time with them, I mean, did you see yourself derailing from the law school career choice?
Oh, yeah.
Would you have just kind of
absolutely?
I can always go back to that.
Yeah. When in '99 I got the Indie Girl tour, and I went out with just some incredible female artists, and we went all over the country and played. And there have been many points in my career where I thought I'm going to make the leap over to nothing but music, and it always was just there, just there. But what was clear to me is that I still had things to say, and I still had things I wanted to write. And I had, I always played. I always played live. I always wrote. I always put out another record. It's just like you've noticed, because I'm not a prolific writer.
It's okay. It's worth the wait.
I write a lot of songs, but I don't write a lot of songs that I want to record. So I have a catalog in a trunk at home that is, probably 40, 50 songs that I never recorded. And sometimes I go back and revisit them, and some of them still pop into my head. I'll be, just wandering about my daily life, and all of a sudden a song comes into my head that I wrote in, 1996 or 1997. And I usually take that as a sign that it's time to pull it out and see if it has something more to say.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I never wrote a song properly, but I wrote, like I said, lyrics when I was a kid, and I had a crush on a girl between 7th and 9th grade. And I actually remember most of the lyrics to that song and a little bit of a melody I created. It's never been a song ever.
That's the beautiful thing about music and words mesh together, though, is it does create an indelible memory, and you can access that. There are things that, and I'm sure this happens to you too, but a song will come on that I haven't heard in years and years, and I'm at a place.
Triggers.
Right? It takes you right to, my friend Michelle's house, where we were having a sleepover party, and that song came on the radio, or we were waiting for the DJ to play it, finally did. There's so much about your life that is kind of embedded in those songs that become a part of who you are. And I'm really thankful to have loved music that way. See, this chokes me up to talk about music this way, but to love music that much and to be able to do it as part of what I do for a living is
what a blessing.
Just an incredible gift. Yeah. It's an incredible gift.
When I hear anything from Simon Garfunkel's greatest hits, I'm in the white Chrysler LeBaron with my mom with the 8-track player playing that. Or John Denver's greatest hits, same thing.
Absolutely.
Like anything from that is like I'm sitting next to mom or I'm in the back seat. I mean, that's where it takes me. I totally get it.
And there's a feeling associated with it too. Like you are in a safe place and you are happy, and like it's amazing what it can do.
Those harmonies of Simon Garfunkel. Something sparked in me when I heard Indigo Girls, and it was actually Land of Canaan that really triggered it for me. Not Closer to Fine, which was probably on the radio, but I wasn't hearing it.
Right.
And that's kind of where my music taste went from pop rock kid to, whoa, what is this world?
Absolutely.
Like kind of upside down, like, woo, and this is the world that I'm happiest in. I like all of the musical worlds because music really is my passion. But like that was the turning point for me, was an Indigo Girls record. So
that record changed everything.
Yeah.
It changed everything for everyone, I think. I remember hearing that, and I remember running to School Kids Records to get it, like right then, like whatever that is, I have to have it right now, and being just immersed in it for a long, long time. And that actually is why I started to play guitar again, was that record.
I'm glad I said
I went and took lessons at Herb David Guitars in Ann Arbor, and I probably only took 4 or 5 lessons, but I wanted to learn how to play those songs. And I, at the time, didn't have the ability to sit down and figure it out myself. I can do that now, but back then it was like, I don't know what they're doing. They're doing something amazing. Yeah. But turns out they were doing things that I could play too.
Very cool.
And that was really eye-opening. And I waited and waited for every record they put out since then. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I'm nobody's voice really stays forever as good, but I'm a little sad that Emily's voice has kind of fallen off a bit, and that's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Very few voices age gracefully.
It's going to happen to all of us. Yeah. And, I think I'm the youngest person in my band.
Yeah, I guess you are.
I am the youngest person in my band, and I am fortunate to play with just absolute world-class players. They're, all 3 of these guys are phenomenal. And I am holding on to every moment of it because I know that it will not last forever. It can't possibly last forever. And
splinter up a little bit.
I mean, we're not, I'm not 22 anymore, and they are even older than me. So we're just going to try to enjoy it as long as we possibly can. And it's just it has absolutely been one of the greatest experiences of my musical career to be able to work with Mike Robertson and Roscoe Selly and my sweet husband, Eric. And, this record, we picked up Ozzie Andrews and we picked up Lauren Krantz.
Oh, cool.
So, and there was this little fellow named Dom Davis who came in and played 5 tracks of bass for us as well. So Dom's on there for 5 tracks, which was, an incredible honor to have him play. But I got to tell you, everybody who touched this record added just magic. I'm so looking forward to it getting out there to more people because I think we have a lot to say with this record.
This would be a good time to say another thing from the record.
Would it now?
It would be. What
All right, then.
From the forthcoming album, Broken Homes and Hearts of Gold, from the Lucky Nows, the second release from the band, what one would you feel comfortable playing right now?
You know, because we're doing all the ones that are hard for me to sing because it's a good exercise for me.
You got to do it in front of public. If you want to sell records, you have to play these songs. Right? I mean, that's reality.
Well, and that's part of what, you know, my band, my sweet band members are always encouraging me because I connect with my writing, like I said, it's like a direct to the heart experience. And that sometimes makes it hard to sing it live. So this one, I'm getting better at singing live. I've lived with it a little bit longer. This is Syracuse. In Dearborn, Michigan, there's a little street called Syracuse that is off of basically Telegraph and Cherry Hill, where the old Oxford High School used to stand. And that is the neighborhood where my grandparents had their house. See, I'm already crying. They bought it on a land contract in 1945 when my grandpa got home from the war. And everything that ever happened in my life was witnessed by that house. Like that place became its own living creature in a character in my life. So when we lost my grandma, and then a couple years later we lost my grandpa, and then we sold the house. And so this tells the story of them, which they were hugely important in my life, but it also kind of, the house is a character. Yeah. I'm going to pull it together, I swear.
I'm here for you.
I appreciate it. See, we're holding hands for those just listening. We're having a moment because I need to pull it together. But I mean, it is inevitable in your life that the older people of your life, you know, they grow older and then they're gone. And I'm just really, I miss him still every day. So it's called Syracuse. It's about my grandpa, my grandma, and that little red brick house. We're the gentlest of giants. You were the stories that you told. Even when you were lying, we knew the truth. How you joined the Navy and fought that war, and you married her like you said before you left you would. It was 1945. On a fireman's pay, bought a red brick house and some pale pink paint, and you rolled it out there on the walls that would witness all our lives on Syracuse. We're the gentlest of giants when you held your newborn child. Every day you would try and try and try, and the years flew by and your daughter grew and she married him like you always knew someday she would, and the granddaughters came soon. We'd blink our lights as we drove away, and you'd stand outside the garage and wave, then turn inside. You couldn't see us anymore. You couldn't fight the fire of the certainty of time. And Grandma left us years before we knew You didn't know who I was some days, but you held my hand and you asked my name 1,000 times, and I told you all I knew. A tire swing on a willow tree and the stilts you built and the peonies your sweetie loved, all the time that slipped away. So the gentlest of giants, every story that he told faded into the silence, so I drove. I watched the sun go down on that red brick house with the pale pink paint you and Graham picked out still on the walls. But everything had changed. I blinked my lights as I drove away, and I wish like hell you were there to wave just one last time, one last time, one last time.
It's a standout cut from the new album from the Lucky Nows, due out in June of 2024. The album Broken Homes and Hearts of Gold, the track Syracuse. My guest from the band, Jen Cass, is here today at Grove Studios. Thank you for getting through that. I know sometimes that can be hard.
Yeah. You know, I think that it's important for me to sing that song. My grandpa had a motto that he lived by, and it was never let the truth stand in the way of a good story. He said it all the time. Never let the truth stand in the way of a good story. But when I wrote this, I really wanted it to be the truth. And I put that in that very opening line of it. You know, you were the gentlest of giants. Every story that you told, those stories keep coming through. And even when you were lying, we knew the truth, you know. Yeah. He was a glorious human being, and I loved him dearly. And just to be able to get, you know, to the point now where I can usually play that song without, you know, catastrophe befalling me is fantastic, because it's very emotional. It's made more so by the fact that we really didn't have a chance to say goodbye to him, because he died. He was one of the first folks around here who died from COVID. Oh. And so there wasn't even the ability to gather and celebrate him. He was just gone. I'm sorry. So
take an emotional break. I'm going to thank Grove Studios while you gather yourself. Grove Studios is where we are today. Ypsilanti, Michigan is the home of Grove Studios, just east of Ann Arbor, a little west of Detroit. If you're in a band, actually younger Eric and younger Michael probably would have loved jamming in here, because it's really made for, like, the motto is get out of the garage, get into the studio. Oh, yeah. So you can make a lot of noise. You're next to a drum set. There's big speakers around here. There's 5 rooms in this building. Excuse me. We're in the largest room. The deluxe room is the room that if you really want to do some major work, do it in here. If you have a smaller ensemble, right across the hall, there's one about half the size. There's a spot for DJs to practice their mixing skills over there. Right next to us is a room where you can it's probably made for doing like your mastering and your mixing, so you can play it loud through speakers. It's not necessarily for performing, but it's got a space where you can crank it and hear what it sounds like.
Awesome.
And then another smaller performance space that you can use. So lots of spaces in the building in Ypsilanti. Grove Studios is where we're at again. They've been the praise of these, where are we at? 76 podcasts. They are the ones that have hosted most of them. I think I've been on the road a couple of times at other people's homes or wherever we might have been. But today we're thankfully back in Grove Studios with Jen Cass of the Lucky Nows. We were talking a little bit before you went into that second song about the momentum of your career, and momentum number 3 was the third album, the only one in my collection that's not signed, apparently.
Oh, I'll have to sign that before I leave.
Accidental Pilgrimage actually did, I think, better, from what I remember, than the second album.
Yeah, we have 5 singles that charted off that, and Dear Mr. President off that record was the number 24, 25 folk song of the year.
Wow. Well, that was 18 years ago, and then there was a bit of a gap.
Yeah, then there were all those kids. Those kids popped out.
You want to talk about what happened in that 18-year gap?
So, I got married and I had 2 kids, and then I got divorced, and then I got married again, and that sweet, lovely man that I married, Mr. Eric Janetsky, who is one of the lead guitar players at the Lucky Nows, had three kids of his own. So our oldest, when we got together, was 12 or 13, and our youngest was 5 or 6, and it was pretty much, that was what we did for many years. We raised those kids and we tried to weave them together into a cohesive family, when that's kind of a hard thing to do at times. But
Brady Bunch said it wasn't.
All 5 of these kids are great, and they are good friends now. So it was every bit of time and effort and love that we poured into that was worth it. It's been a really fantastic life.
Yeah.
It's been great.
I'm happy to see you happy. I've known you a long time, and I see the two of you together, and I see how you love each other, and you are absolutely one of my favorite couples. So I say that from the heart.
We are very aware of how fortunate we are, because I think a lot of people do find someone to spend their life with, but not everybody finds true love, and it's glorious. It's really glorious. And even when it's hard, there are times when it's hard, but we have never had a fight.
Wow.
Eric and I have not fought once in our entire marriage, because we just connect on a really deep level, and we understand each other, and we love each other, and we're careful with our words, and we're kind with our words. And, it makes for a pretty great place to come home to and to create in. We've come up with some pretty great stuff together.
He's probably afraid of you too, because you're a black belt. No, I'm not going to piss her off.
He is the person, other than my son Red, who does karate with me.
Yeah,
Eric is the person who most often gets the phrase, "Come here, I want to show you something I learned in karate."
No, I'm stepping that way. Thanks anyway. So the Lucky Nows originally started out as a duo, just the two of you. How did that evolve into a band?
Yeah, so we initially were just playing out, the two of us, because we both just wanted to play songs together. And along the way, we met some people who were great side people, and so we would have people come in, and people would go out, and that would go on for a while. And then we were getting ready to record, and we wanted to play the Ark in celebration of the record that we were putting out. And we thought, it's time to get serious about who is in this band. And so we asked Mike Robertson, and Michael Robertson, for those who don't know, is an incredible singer-songwriter in his own right.
Great guitar player.
Great guitar player, and he's sought after as a guitar player, as a sideman. But I think people often don't know how good a writer he is and how careful he is with the way that he crafts a song. So he's one of, obviously Eric, but Mike is one of the first people I send a new song to. Kyle Rashi, I send my songs to Kyle. Kyle sends his back to me. We have a little thing going back and forth.
Also a previous guest.
Yeah, but it's really lovely to have, such talented people to surround yourself with. So we bring Mike into the fold, and we were talking on Facebook about how we were going to play the Ark, and it was going to be amazing, and we were promoting. And Roscoe Selly, who's a world-class, undisputedly world-class harmonica player, gets on the thread on Facebook and says, "I want to play the Ark." And I reach out to Roscoe and said, "Do you seriously want to play the Ark? Because we'd be really honored to have you join us." And he was like, "I absolutely do." So Roscoe came and played. The first time he played with us was at the Ark.
Wow.
And then we finished recording. Roscoe gets all over everything. And, the Lucky Nows in the current incarnation, these 4 people, Michael Robertson, Roscoe Selly, Eric Janetsky, and myself, that's the core of the Lucky Nows now. John Petrikis was with us for many years. I have the utmost respect for his abilities. He's incredible. He got married and moved.
Well, that'll do something to a band.
Dan, we for a while had a great mandolin player too, who moved to South Carolina. So we've lost some people along the way, but those 4 have stayed as the core of the Lucky Nows, and then there are people who come and go along the way. So,
Do you ever cover the song that you named the band after?
Eric and I used to play it. That's one of the first weekends we went away. When we were first dating, we went away for the weekend, and as we were driving up to Cadillac, we were playing each other music that mattered to us. And so I was like, "You got to hear Jeffrey Folkalt," and he was like, "Oh, I got this Ryan Adams song that you're gonna love," and we went back and forth with it. And it was that record that had that track on it had just come out.
Yeah.
And so we listened to that on the way up to the cottage, and it became, sort of an anthem for us. Yeah.
Nice. Unfortunately, he had a bit of a
He did.
thing with his career. And
unfortunately.
I have seen him since, and I was like, all right, I'm going to give you another chance to be okay. And I enjoyed the show, but in the back of my head, I'm still like, kind of a dick, but all right.
It's forever gonna change people's perception of him, because I don't think that anybody doubts that Phoebe Bridgers is telling it the way that it happened. I don't think anybody doubts the stories.
Mandy Moore.
So
too.
he just and anymore it's hard to survive that kind of behavior.
Feel bad and also don't feel bad. Don't be a dick if you're going to be a public figure, or don't be a dick, period.
Right.
And then,
And if you're going to be a public figure and be a dick, expect you're going to be caught.
Yeah.
Eventually.
I mean, right. So, I mean, he has such a great catalog. I hate to dismiss it. I can't dismiss it because I still respect what he did. So it's like,
Well, and I think if we all just threw away every artist that we ever admired or loved because of, bad behavior, we wouldn't have anybody left to listen to.
Probably not.
Or anybody left to whose art you wanted to view, or whose, we're all flawed. We are all troubled in our own ways, and some of us are unfortunately have made choices that hurt other people, and that's kind of where the line is harder to get over.
Well, the Lucky Nows have a web page. It's theluckynows.com, but there's no Facebook page. There's no separate. What is that all about?
There is going to be a Facebook page. Again.
You should probably.
We took everything down when we were redesigning for this new CD.
Okay.
And everything will go back up. There's a placeholder website up there right now, and basically the main thing on it is our schedule. So if you want to know where we're playing, that's up there at theluckynows.com. But the rest of the content is going to come at the same time as the CD is released, which is really soon now. It comes out May 31st officially.
Yeah, when I went to the website the other day, I clicked on it expecting to find, it's a blank page. Okay, great. So where can I get more information? And I know you, but I'm like, when I do these things, I always do a bit of what's been going on recently that I might have missed. I can talk about that too.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we get all the important things in. Like, I went back and listened to sessions that you and I did at WHFR.
Fun, yeah.
I will off the microphone tell you something about one of those, or two of those actually. But it reminded me that 20 years ago you had a lugeing accident and broke your thumb.
I sure did.
And I forgot all about that.
Yes.
And I wondered if it had any effect on, I know you, obviously at the time you had to change how you played guitar, but did it change your guitar playing permanently or just temporarily is the question?
I did a lot. I had really good physical therapists that I worked with, because it was definitely changing the way that I was playing. And I finger pick and strum, and I was able to, gerrymander this thing where I put the, it was just a very strange thing, but, in order to play guitar well, you've got to be able to push pretty hard on the neck of the guitar to get a chord to ring correctly. And I couldn't do that for a long time. So I'm thankful to the nice physical therapist who worked with me to get that strength back so I could play again. But it was that was a really dumb thing to do.
Well, you've been at it for...
Don't stick your hand out when lugeing.
Yeah, I've never
They
luged.
actually tell you that. They're like, don't stick your hand out. And I was like, cool. And what did I do? Stuck my hand out.
Instincts. That's why they tell you not to do it. So far in your 28-ish years, what have been the biggest gigs that you've played? The one, like the big stages, or the oh my God, I can't believe I got to do this.
Wow. There's one that always stands out in my mind. Obviously Wheatland always stands out in your mind every time you get a chance to take the stage at Wheatland is stunning. The Ark is my home. They gave me my first chances and my first breaks, and the Siglin family has been incredibly kind to me over many years. So the Ark stands out. But I got to tell you, I got to play the Boston Folk Festival. And, as a student of folk music, in addition to, a person who plays folk music, that is a place I always really wanted to play. And I was able to get a 2-song set, sort of an emerging artist set at the Boston Folk Festival. And then I had a baby.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, I'm going to play the Boston Folk Festival. I don't care. I know that this was Juno, my daughter, and she was in a baby Bjorn. She was really little. She was probably only a month or two old when I played it. And I got there and I didn't even know what to do, like strap the baby on my back and keep playing. I wasn't sure, but fortunately, Lori McKenna was there. Like she floated down like an angel and said, "I will hold your baby while you play your set." And
Give to me the baby.
It was great. You know, I loved that gig, not only because, you know, it was the Boston Folk Festival and I got to play Dear Mr. President at a time when, you know, that song was really big, but because Lori McKenna was holding my baby.
That's pretty damn cool. And nicely that you mentioned Dear Mr. President, because my next listed question is there a, well, it seems like there'd be weird way to phrase that, but I'm almost going to say, is there a reason to update the song? Because there is probably, but would you be tempted to update the song, I guess is probably
That is
better
such
way.
a good question. And I guess my answer to that would be, in a way, I did update the song when I wrote Goodnight.
Oh.
So there are things, just like Phil Oakes has Here's to the State of Mississippi. And he later updated that and it became Here's to the State of Richard Nixon. And it was a kind of an evolving song because of that. And so Dear Mr. President could definitely do that. It remains relevant. I wish it weren't, but it does absolutely remain relevant that there are wars being fought all over the world and soldiers who are fighting them who have no idea why they're fighting and have the right to ask those questions. And that's why I wrote that song, to try to give voice to, it was the Iraq War that was happening then, but I was trying to give voice to some people who were writing to me saying, your music is giving me comfort out here. And what do you know about what's happening? What are you hearing about what's happening? And those conversations sparked that song. And
So it helped people and it also pissed people off.
both. Yeah. Well, you know, Dear Mr. President got me steamrolled with the Dixie Chicks and kicked right out of Nashville. So
High
it
five.
was,
Across the room. Oh, nice job.
yeah, I was one of the band artists for I wasn't big enough to have it be, you know, national news
No, of course
that
not.
I was being steamrolled with the Dixie Chicks, but I was, you know, thrown right under with them. And I couldn't be in better company.
That's-
People, you know, me and Steve Earle and the Dixie Chicks, and we all just got, you know, run out of town. But unfortunately, my career was at a place where I was just about to break.
Yeah.
And then, you know,
Derailing
that
a
was
little
kind
bit.
of a reason why I did not, because I was viewed by Nashville at that point to be sort of a pariah. I was telling stories they didn't want to hear just then.
Does it still make it to the sets these days, the song? Like when you do gigs?
When I play solo, which I don't do very often anymore, but when I play solo, it still makes the sets. And when I play at the Arc on the 25th of July.
Yes. That's in the later portion of the
Yeah.
notes,
Well,
too.
we'll mention that later, but when I will play it. I've been looking forward to playing it again.
Okay. And Lucky Now gigs are pretty much all like songs from the 2 records now. And do you include solo songs from?
There are some solo songs that make it through. Trouble, which is off Skies Burning Red, is a consistent song that we play. Even Angels gets played a lot. Roscoe added something just extraordinary to that song, and I really want to re-record it because it's different now and it's just beautiful. And I think we will probably with the next CD. We do sometimes do Small Town Boy. So there are some songs that we do play
sense.
Pirate. But yeah, we do try to focus. The beautiful thing about the Lucky Nows is that all 4 of us are singer-songwriters in our own right. So it's like, you know, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, or the Eagles, or, you know, one of the great old bands that we grew up, you know, with our back against the stereo listening to.
Of course, yeah.
You know, those harmonies,
Sure.
and that each of them had their own way of writing and their own voice and their own style. And we have that too. We have every single person in this band writes, and every single person in this band wrote at least one song and sings as the lead singer at least one song for these records. And that's pretty cool.
Then the semi-official release party for the disc is the Nor'easter Music Festival Saturday stage, or the day before. We're still trying to decide. 2 days
Yeah,
before.
I mean, I'm sure we'll play some of the new songs at the Nor'easter kickoff concert at Skyline Event Center. But the set that we put together for Nor'easter is almost entirely the new material.
Yes.
So it's a chance for people to hear almost all of those songs live, and some of them for the first time. We'll be playing them live for the first time.
Cool. Well, that seems like a good time to try and play a new song. Would you like to do another new one from the new record?
I would like to. So this is called The Lesson, and it's one of very few songs that we actually, as a band, sat around a table and wrote together. Roscoe was unable to join us that day, but he later added beautiful stuff to it. But Eric and Mike and I sat around a table and wrote the song together. And I am a solo writer. Eric and I have learned ways to, help each other write. He adds incredible music to the things that I write, and I help him kind of straighten lyrics out so they fit rhythmically with what he's envisioning. But for all of us to sit around doesn't happen very often.
I think this actually has my favorite lyric on the record. I'm glad you're playing it.
Well, you'll have to tell me what it is.
Later.
Okay. So the lesson. Aren't so different, me and you. It's just the things that we've been taught that draw these lines. Every lesson, every word handed down history with its truth and with its lies. Things we hid in shadows and in the dark burst into the light and break apart. Choose your side and stand your ground. Lessons coming back around. Daughter born into this world, will meet her end before she even turns 18. So we take our sides on battle lines already drawn and leave our children in between. We shout from the shadows with broken hearts. A bullet takes its flight and tears a life apart. Choose your side and stand your ground. Lessons coming back around. Build it up, tear it down. It's still coming back. It's still coming back around. Our fathers taught us right from wrong. Our mothers loved us whether we were wrong or right. And every lesson, every word, well, they have brought us to our knees in this long night. We're still fighting shadows here in the dark, but in this burning light are we so far apart? Choose your side and stand your ground. Lessons coming back around. Build it up, tear it down. It's still coming back. It's still coming back around. So different, me and you. It's just the things that we've been taught that draw these lines.
Jen Cass from The Lucky Now is doing a track from their new record, Broken Homes and Hearts of Gold. That one is called The Lesson, which, as I mentioned before the song was played, has one of my favorite lyrics on the record. Care to guess which one it is? If you'd watched my face, you would have noticed.
Is it the bullet takes its flight line?
No, that's a good one, but that's not it.
No, what is it?
Our fathers taught us right from wrong, but our mothers loved us whether we were wrong or right.
Right.
Yep. Yep. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Anyway, that's from the forthcoming record. I'm honored to have Jen Cass here in Grove Studios in Ypsilanti, where the podcast gets recorded on a pretty regular basis these days. Not necessarily on any regular schedule, but it is one of the joys of my life, and I'm glad that we're finding time to do this. This was difficult for us to find a time to schedule, so I want to ask, how do you find time to write music in your busy life? Because you're busy fighting crime and making music.
I got to fight crime and use the karate skills to throw people around. It finds me. I guess that's my best answer.
Driving to work, it hits you?
Yeah, I mean,
In the shower, it hits
some of
you?
the best songs that I've ever written were, I was in the shower and boom, Balancing Man came out in its entirety. I was on my way to work in Ann Arbor, hit a traffic jam, shocking, and somebody, the entire song, but for one verse, the entire song came flying out in the middle of a traffic jam. And I'm singing into my phone to try to make sure I don't lose it. And I have all kinds of voice memos on my phone that I have to go through and see what's usable or what I want to say. And then, there are other times when I wake up, I am sleeping and I wake up in the middle of the night and I've got a whole thing. And I've learned over the years that if I don't get up right then and try to capture it, it's gone. I will not have it in the morning. So I think that you have to learn to, when the muse shows up, you best get up and make sure you're listening.
Well, if I'm doing my math right, there are 5 to 6 other humans in the house, depending on
There
one
are
is at
so
school.
many.
How do you not wake them up? Like, how do you not disturb people while you're writing music? Because I've been to your house for one of your house concerts, but
Yeah. Well, the kids are all upstairs.
oh, okay.
So the only person that I would wake up is my sweet Eric, and he's been very.
He would want to be woken up by that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
I
sure he
would.
would. Most of the time, he wants to come out and play.
Yeah.
And if you're listening, my darling, I'm sorry that I don't always let you. Sometimes when I'm working on a song, I'm not ready to even say it out loud to anyone. He'd be the first person I shared anything with, but I'm just not ready to say it out loud yet. And he is always so excited to hear the next thing. So sometimes we have like this moment where I'm like, I'm not ready. And he goes, but I wanna, but yeah.
The closest thing you get to fighting. Let me hear the damn song. No.
I'm not ready.
I learned about something in the research that I didn't know about you. That you had some association with the Tufa novels, which I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
Did that result in any sort of uptick in your fan base? People discovering you through that? Tell me
For
more
sure.
about that.
Yeah. So years ago, there's an author by the name of Alex Bledsoe, who's one of my very favorite people in the world and has become a dear friend. And his wife, Valletta, is a dear friend. They're the whole family. I love them. Just kind of cold emailed me out of nowhere and said, I'm writing a book, a novel that has a female character that plays guitar. And I don't know what kind of guitar she'd play. And so I'm wondering if you'd read the book and tell me what kind of guitar you think she'd play. And I was like, that's awesome and weird, and I love it. Please send me this book right away. So he sent me a book called A Wisp of a Thing. It was the first thing I ever read from Alex. And it was wonderful. It's a wonderful book. Everyone should read it. And so I decided that this character, because of things I shall not reveal, would play a Breedlove, and I have reasons for that. And you can fight me on it. You can read the novel and fight me on it, but I thought that's what she'd play. So we continued to be friends for years and years, and eventually he had another book in that same series, in the Tufa series, that had a pivotal moment where another person stood up and sang a song, and it was another female character. He writes amazing, strong female characters. So this woman stood up and played a song that basically revealed the greatest secret of this book, like this huge, giant secret that had been kept. And he was putting in placeholder words, and it was like, la, 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 like could not for the life of him. He's like, I'm a writer. Why can't I do this? So he called me and Eric and said, can you take a crack at this? Yeah. And so the song that came out of that was on the last record, and that's Against the Black. And it's great fun to write in that way. I'd love to do that some more, to be given some parameters of, what this character is about to do, or what this pivotal moment in a movie. I think that's a really fun challenge.
Yeah. Well, the new record is seemingly full of songs that are very personal, very family oriented.
Very much
That
so.
last record, the song about the ghost was really great. And this one is so like, I almost feel like, as we discussed earlier, how do you even sing these songs in public? I don't know how you can do it. They're great songs. I'm relating to them maybe because I know you.
Yeah.
But I think other people will relate to them too, especially the first one you play, because there are a lot of other mothers going through what you describe in the song. So as a songwriter and a singer, you focused on your life more for this record.
Yeah.
Is that on purpose, or these are just, you felt like the best contributions you could make to the record?
I think that it's just where we are right now. We're all four of us are at a point where we've had some great successes and some great tragedies in our lives, and some really difficult things to overcome, and some incredible things to just sail through and enjoy. And in the midst of that, kind of churning sea of crazy that we've been living, there's this kernel of honesty about who we are as people. And I think we all really reach deep to try to tell those honest stories again, but you're right. I mean, I used to write songs in the very beginning when I was a brand new baby Jen Cass singer-songwriter. I would write things that were very much very personal and very hard to get through. And one of the things I learned is I have a hard time singing these songs, and maybe I shouldn't write songs like that. Well, then I wrote Cannonball Girl, which is about my daughter Juno, and it has become it's a big song for the Lucky Nows.
I love that
and I have to play it.
It's greatest hits.
I have to play it. It's one of the greatest hits for sure. And so it's one of the things that people expect to hear when they come to see us.
Sure.
And so I had to learn how to sing songs that were killing me. And I don't know, I'm going to do my best. You have seen, I mean, they're very emotional for me here with just you, who I trust immensely, enough that I gave you the record before any other human that wasn't actually on the record,
Thank you.
So I'm in a safe place here with someone who knows me and gets me and understands me and knows what these songs are about. And it's still brutal sometimes to sing them out loud, but I'm going to do it because I think one of the things that you do as a songwriter is you have to find a way to give the songs to the people who are listening.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that, it's not yours anymore. It's something that's theirs, and they may interpret it differently than you do, and they may feel it differently than you do, and they may hold it in their heart in a different way than you do. But none of that is ever going to happen if you can't sing them out loud. And so this is really my biggest obstacle right now is I'm writing songs that are hard. Mm-hmm. And I'm writing songs that are true and that really, I tear up just thinking about the songs sometimes, not even singing them. But I need them to be in the world. And if I don't, I got to overcome that hurdle so they can be out there.
I've heard a lot of other songwriters say once they put it out, it's not theirs anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a master class on how to do that. Maybe you should talk to some of the other songwriters who've done it. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Just ask them. Go out.
There are people, one of my good friends way back from the Indie Girl tour back in '99 is Edie Carey. And Edie,
Met her last year.
I adore Edie, and Edie can write a song that makes me and the audience become a puddle of tears. I am just ruined in the audience because she's so able to tell a very raw, honest take on these very difficult subjects, and she's brilliant, and she never tears up. I never see her lose it. And I've talked to her, how do you do that? And she's like, I don't know. She doesn't really have an answer. We're 80. What's your answer? I need a solid answer. The only thing that's worked for me is that I try to focus on technique. So I'm focused on actual singing technique and the feeling of the air going over my vocal cords and where I have to put my fingers. And, if I focus on technique, I usually do better. And then if I'm really losing it, even though I'm focusing really hard on technique, I have to find a word somewhere, in the room. You've got signs that say microphones, cables, used vocal mics. And so if I'm really losing it, I can look at microphones and focus really hard on microphones. But the risk you take is that you will sing microphones.
Forget the lyric. And
in the middle of it all, you'll be like, microphones, cables, used vocal mics,
Yeah, it sounds great. Rewriting the songs. That's funny. There's no way to phrase this as a question. I'm just going to phrase it as a compliment. You have one of those voices that when I hear, I am calm, I'm happy, I feel, I don't know how to describe how I feel, but you have the voice that is one for me that just does it for me, right? I don't know how to say that any differently. So I'm glad that you're here playing songs from this new record. And we talked a little bit about how the lesson was as a co-write. Right?
Yeah. And
most of the songs though that you sing, you've written yourself, and is that the same?
And that's true for everybody on the record. If you're singing it, you are the primary writer on a Lucky Nows record. The nice thing about the lesson was that we were, kind of doing it as a co-write as a team, and then we had one line that we were struggling with, and so my son Red wrote it.
Oh, cool!
And so that's the line about the bullet taking flight. So.
Cool. It's a little co-writing credit.
He gets there's a credit for him on the record, and our son Aiden has a credit on Fly Away. So, yeah,
pretty cool. Fan now. One that you didn't write, I'm going to point out because maybe he's watching. Two Rivers. What the really? There's something on there. Actually, as I was listening to the song, when I got to a spot, I could do it because we know we're not supposed to play with our phones while we're driving. I had never heard the first name Amandalyn.
Yeah.
And it made me want to have a daughter so I could name her a mandolin because I just love like the interplay of the words, like
It's beautiful,
mandolin,
right?
a
Mandolin,
mandolin.
a mandolin, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is that his daughter's name?
Yeah, that's Mike and Karen, his beautiful, incredible, wise, insightful wife, Karen. Karen's daughter, Amanda Lynn.
Okay.
When they married, Karen already had a mandolin, and Mike came in as a stepdad figure to Amanda Lynn. And that's a story that he should definitely tell if he wants to share it. But it's it's produced a lot of really interesting songs over the years, and she also was a beautiful writer and singer too.
Joe Pug could sing that song. I think when I heard it, I was hearing Joe Pug sing it in my head too. So that was to me that's a compliment because the first time I heard him, I think, ooh, here is one of the throne takers of the Dylan songwriting
100%,
school.
yeah.
I thought when I heard him. I guess the final question before we do another song: any regrets about your music career? Any things you wish you hadn't done? Covers you shouldn't have put on your records, or covers you shouldn't have played in concert? Photo shoots you regret? I mean, any of these like things you've done, like man.
Here's what I've learned. When I was younger, I had a lot of regrets. As I've gotten older and I've kind of moved through a music career differently, there really are no regrets. There are only lessons. And I think that that's been really helpful to me to think about it that way, that there are things I might not do again. There are songs I might choose different songs if I were recording again now. Even knowing what I had at the time, like what was available to me at each record, there are things that I might have done differently, but I really truly believe that everything happens for a reason. And so if it goes your way, great. And if it doesn't go your way, there's something to learn from that. And I like to learn. Whenever I run out of things to learn, I pick up something else. Mm-hmm. I need to continue to learn and grow and read and get out into the world and meet new people and, sit with other people's lives and see if some of them turn into songs. But regret and worry and backward looking stuff is just going to ruin your life. And it's one of the most important things I've ever, and sometimes struggle like everyone with it, but I know for a fact that I am better if I'm thinking about what I'm thankful for.
Nicely said. Would you like to do one more, or shall we call it a day?
Can I do an oldie?
Yeah, of course you can. Is it your oldie?
Yeah.
Good, because I don't pay royalties to the other people.
Yeah, no. You mentioned the Ghost song, and I thought, that's a fun one.
That
to
is
play.
a great one. Maybe a little of the backstory too, because it helps.
I will.
Into the microphone, though.
You prefer it when I'm talking to the mic as opposed to
The
laying
floor.
on the ground to
Yeah,
pick
no.
up the pick I just dropped.
Yeah, please.
All right. You're a very picky fella.
Picky, I get it.
So John D. Lamb runs a songwriters retreat, it's a really good time. If you haven't been there and you're a songwriter, you should make your way there to Lamb's retreat. When you get there, John D. Lamb is going to give you a songwriting assignment. And I mean, we, as songwriters, we do this to each other sometimes. We'll call somebody up and go, I got this great idea, but it's for you. I know you can write this. And so at the time I had been living in Bay City, Michigan, and I'd gone through this. I had run for office, and it was a crushing defeat. And I felt very strongly that I'd sort of been good old boyed out of town. Like it was just one of those situations where they were not ready for a female to have anything at all, particularly one like me who was outspoken and not willing to bow to whatever they told me to do. So John went looking for a story that kind of mimicked that, and he found a great one that Old City Hall, which is now a restaurant, but is the same building that stood even at the turn of the last century. Old City Hall is haunted by a ghost, and she was the favorite prostitute of all the powerful men at the turn of the last century, back when Bay City was a logging town. And it turned out over time that she, through her vocation, learned a lot of secrets that she probably shouldn't have known. And if she had been less intelligent, she probably couldn't have put all the pieces together. But she was very smart. And so she started to figure out, what was going on with that town, and, you know, where the power was and where the trouble was and where the bodies were buried. And, you know, she just knew too much. And so once the powerful men figured out that she had put all the pieces together, they buried her alive. And so she haunts Old City Hall. They had taken her to the jail cells, which are still there in Old City Hall. If you go down there, you can go to the wine cellars, and that's the old jail cells. They locked her in there until she kind of was in this deep sleep because she had narcolepsy. It's a long story, but she got into a deep narcoleptic sleep, and they just threw her in a coffin and buried her alive. So John Lamb, being the wise and interesting human that he is, was like, I think that you can find a connection between what you just went through and what they put her through. And, you know, Lamb's Retreat, the deal is you've got a week to do it, right? So here's a week to figure out where your connection is with this, you know, turn of the last century prostitute who was murdered in cold blood by the powerful men in town. So, yeah. So it's called Girl with No Name. And it's I love to play this song. And I think that when you feel connected to a song like that, the audience feels that too. And so this is another one where people say, play the ghost song, right? And I know they're talking about this one. Cobblestone street, away from the house where the girls like me sleep. Take the trolley to town. The men here who know me turn their faces down. In this broken town, I took my dreams and buried them so deep. So they're beautiful, unbroken. They hold power over me. I am a girl with no name. Tell me your secrets, and I'll keep them safe. Whisper all of your sins, and I will absolve you with your skin on my skin. In this broken town, they'll lay me down to bury what is true. That a beautiful, unbroken girl holds power over you. Down at Old City Hall, the kings of the county are fixing it all. They got wine and cigars, and their hands up the skirts of the girls at the bar. In this broken town, they'll take me down. I'm buried in my sleep. 'Cause a beautiful, unbroken girl's too powerful to keep. And everybody knows.
cracked asphalt streets, layers of brick road and cobblestone meet. They tore my trolley tracks out, took them down to the scrap yard and melted them down. And this broken town still haunted by a girl without a name. Hookers at old City Hall, they hold office there today. And everybody knows everybody knows nobody sees
It's Jen Cass of the Lucky Nows on Acoustic Alternatives, live from Grove Studios, and a song that is on the previous album. The new album's coming out very, very soon, maybe even by the time the video for this podcast is ready, because it was taking me a little longer to edit than the audio, because there's a lot of lining up to do. The new album's called Broken Homes and Hearts of Gold. The previous album, why am I drawing a blank on the name of the
Rise.
album? Rise.
Yeah.
Chance to see the Lucky Nows exists at the Nor'easter Music Festival, full band on stage, but also leading up to the festival in Cummins, Michigan. Any other planned Lucky Nows shows?
Yeah, we're playing over in Remus, Michigan at the May Barn.
Okay.
That is on the 15th of June. And we have a lot of things all summer long. So go out to theluckynows.com and it will all be up there.
Solo Jen, July 25th. Amy
Solo
Petty,
Jen.
Sarah Sinjic, and Jennifer Nagel.
Yeah.
That tour has a name. That's a tour. It's a one-stop show.
Yeah,
but-
that's the Songs of Darkness and Light.
Ooh, tell me about that.
Yeah. So this is Sarah Sinjic has been really wanting to do a show where, we're all friends, and she's been wanting to do a show together with us. And we just thought, what an incredible opportunity for four powerhouse singer-songwriters who are also all good friends and know each other's music to go out there and really shine together. So we cooked up the Songs of Darkness and Light because Sarah tends to write these, just ray of light songs. She has a couple songs that are sad, but Amy Petty and I are kind of more known for our dark songs. And Jen Nagley is the human embodiment of a sunbeam. She is.
And I said her name
she
wrong.
She is nothing but delight. I adore her. And whenever I am sad, I put on Jen Nagley's Christmas album because you can't listen to it and not immediately get happy. So we wanted to sort of showcase the ability to write all over the map as women. And we write differently, but we write, we write songs that we all can connect to. So it's really exciting for the four of us to get out. And we're playing the Ark on July 25th, and we're playing at the May Farm. We're going to go over to the May Barn as well in August. So
Singing on each other's songs and harmonizing.
yeah,
stuff.
we're going to sing some harmonies and play on each other's stuff. And
Very cool.
Got a couple rehearsals planned, and really looking forward to a chance just to get out and play some of the songs that I haven't played in a long time.
Nice.
The Jen Cass songs that, like A Vagabond Heart, some of the ones that I haven't thought about in a long time that when you talk with your friends, they go, oh, the song I love. And then they say a song you haven't played in 15 years.
Yeah.
So that's definitely what's happening here is they're, oh, you've got to play. And then they play a song that I haven't even thought about. So it's been so much fun to just reacquaint myself with my back catalog.
Cool. Thank you so much for carving out time today and
Of
talking about the new
course. Thank
record,
you
talking
for
about your
having me.
life, talking about everything, and always good to see you.
Yeah.
Grove Studios, thank you for making a podcast possible for me. I think in the last 4 years, had this not been part of my life, I would have a little bit more time on my hands, but I'd also have a lot less joy. So if you're a band or a musician that just wants to find a place to practice, make a lot of noise, if you're a DJ, you want to make a lot of noise, you got neighbors that are like, turn it down. This is the place you come to. It's an Ypsilanti 24/7 operation. If you wanted to come at 2 a.m, the rates are a little cheaper, and you can get a keypad code to come in, and no one's going to stop you from doing your thing as loud as you want. So thanks to Grove Studios. And I don't have another one lined up yet, but I'm always looking for the next opportunity. This one has been on the, when are we going to do a thing? When are we going to talk about your new record? So I'm glad it was able to be done.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you giving me a chance to come talk about it. And
Of course.
your questions are always so wonderful and insightful. And it's been lovely over the years just to be your friend in addition to having your support as a DJ.
Thank you, Jen. Thanks for listening to Acoustic Alternatives. If you're new because you found me through the 27,000 people who've watched the Jeff Daniels video because of Kelly Clarkson, thanks for sticking around this long. Appreciate you. Thanks for listening.